Hello, this is Dave from Sprues and Brews, and in this video you'll find our in-depth review of the recently leaked Sylvaneth Battletome. This is the latest Battletome that's going to be released for Age of Sigmar. Now this particular segment has been taken from our weekly podcast, of which you'll find a link in the description below should you wish to listen to the whole thing. We hope you enjoy this segment of our podcast, and if you have any feedback, please let us know in the comments. So enjoy!
Okay, so in the past few days, a certain thing has hit the internet and we've managed to have a sneaky peek at it. Now, the Sylvaneth Battletome has been delayed. We're not sure when it's coming out, but it has leaked a little bit online.
Yeah, it was kind of pushed onto the Apple bookstore and it was available for purchase for a while. Quite a few people managed to get their hands on it, and yeah, pretty much the contents are widely known now.
Yeah. Now, of course, we're big fans of Games Workshop, so we're saying, we're going to do a bit of an overview of what we've seen in this book now, but it's still well worth picking up the Battletome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, we've not seen any of the... we've seen all the war scrolls and stuff like that, but we've not seen any of the lore, the background, those sort of things. So we've not seen a complete thing.
No, and like Matt was just saying with Forbidden Power, powers, the lore is so good in Age of Sigmar at the moment that they're alone worth, making sure you pick up.
Yeah, a lot of this info we have got over on Sprues and Brews. Obviously, if Games Workshop ask us to remove it, we'll take it down.
Yeah.
We haven't got the points up there just because, again, we feel like you should be buying the book if you want to play this.
Yeah. But now you are our True Lord Ancient, basically, Jay, aren't you?
True Lord Ancient, I like that.
True Lord Ancient. So you've been collecting Sylvaneth since they came out.
I think they were. Yeah, they were. When did they come out, the Sylvaneth Battletome? Because it was one of the first new ones with the spells.
It was during the Realm War series, wasn't it? Way back in the Myth of Time, but I don't know, a fair few years ago now.
But I mean, I've always liked like the Wood Elves and the Tree Spirits, and I think when Alariel was released, that must have been 2007. Oh, what?
I don't know, it's a while ago.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Sylvaneth. One of my favourite factions in Age of Sigmar.
So you are the best person to be talking about this new Battletome.
Yeah, well, I've had quite a lot of games with the current Sylvaneth, so I'm quite used to how they play. I've had a good read through the new Battletome, and there's quite a few changes, and it's much more difficult now, I found, to put lists together. But that's a good thing, because I think it's now going to see a lot more different playstyles with the Sylvaneth.
We've said this with the last few books. There's no-brainer choices, really.
No.
You've got different strengths. You can't take everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of the old Sylvaneth Battletome relied on the Wildwoods, fighting in the Wildwoods, using Wildwoods to disrupt. It all sort of centred on that Wildwoods, whereas now they're still really, really good. But you can sort of... I found with the Sylvaneth, it was not a one-trick one-trick pony, but you lacked a lot of the options and synergies you found in other Battletomes, which I think has been added now. So, I mean, to start with, your allegiance abilities. So these have changed a little bit from currently. So the big change that probably everyone wants to see is the Wildwoods. So we've seen the new models for these, the Awakened Wildwoods. You still get to place one after you set your chosen battlefield and deployment zones. Before your chosen deployment zones, sorry. We know one Awakened Wildwood is made up of 3 to 6 of the new models. Mm-hmm. And overall, I think you're going to get a similar sort of footprint on the table.
Three of the new trees is exactly the same space as the base of one of the old ones.
Yeah.
Now, before you could put down more woods, couldn't you? So you kind of limited on 6 individual trees. Whether you could put up to 3 bases.
You could put 3 bases, yeah. But I think 6 individual trees would sort of make... I think you can get 2 bases, maybe 2.5 of the old bases footprint, so it's not too bad.
And you've got more manoeuvrability as well. You can shape them around things. Because I think you've got more restrictions on where you can place them now.
There are, yeah. So you have to place them 6 inches away from objectives, which I think in the current Sylvaneth Battletome you can place them on objectives, which is quite useful. So that's your restriction. Also, they have to face outwards, so they have to, be like in a circle or rather than flipping them inwards. Mm-hmm. Other than that, the rules for them have changed a little bit. So currently, if you run or charge through an Awakened Wildwood, you roll a dice for each model that does that, and on a 1 they're slain. It doesn't apply to monsters or heroes, but it does apply to units with like 5 wounds, like famously those Stormcast Griff chargers that charge 3 on steals.
My Vanguard were always concerned about charging the trees.
Yeah, so that's changed now, and now what happens is in every charge phase, any nearby enemy units take D3 mortal wounds on a 6+.
Right.
And that includes monsters and heroes. So I think overall that's a plus, because I think then if you're fighting the protracted combats in Wildwoods, you've always got to think about those D3 mortal wounds. I mean, it's on a 6+, but
well, it still grinds your characters down, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So I think that, and the fact that it applies to monsters and heroes, I think is very strong. They still get roused by magic, but currently you can rouse a Wildwood even if a spell is unbound, because it's still classed as being successfully cast. Now it explicitly states that the spell can't be unbound, so that probably won't go off as much as it currently does, but it's still there. So that's the big change to the Awaken Wildwoods. The other thing that's changed is a rule called Forest Spirit. So currently you can hold back Sylvaneth units in the realm routes and bring them on alongside Wildwoods at the end of your movement phase. You can still do that, but you can only do it with half of your army. So for every 1 unit you hold back, you have to deploy 1 unit onto the
That's
battlefield.
balancing it with all
Similar
the
to
armies
the
at the moment.
Stormcast,
Yeah.
I think, and I've noticed that reading through this book, a lot of it brings it in line with current Battletomes, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Another one, the Navigate the Realm route. So this is another ability they currently have. This has changed quite a lot. So currently, any Sylvaneth unit can navigate the realm routes, and when they decide to do this, basically you have to be within range of a Wildwood on the battlefield. You can then, in your movement phase, move them to be within range of a separate Wildwood, and then you roll on a table. Then on a 1, you've tripped up, you're stuck there, you can't do anything else for the rest of the turn. On a 2 to 5, I think you can shoot and charge freely. On a 6, you can move again. That's changed. Now you can only do this with 1 unit a turn. So only one of your units can teleport between Wildwoods, and there is no table to roll on. That counts as their move.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I need to check with you guys on the wording. I don't know. Currently, you can move units out of combat with that Navigate the Realm Routes ability. It says here this is done instead of a normal move. I don't know whether that means now you can't teleport them out of the realm routes or not.
I'd say that's probably fine, but the count is disengaging.
Yeah, perhaps. So
Yeah.
So there's that. Now, I was a bit, when I first read that, I thought, oh, that's because, I mean, mobility was a big thing for Sylvaneth, moving units around the battlefield. But having read through the whole Battletome, you don't need to worry. There's lots of ways to move units around the battlefield.
I mean, I've seen some initial kind of like knee-jerk reactions to this online. I mean, without a proper look into it, I think if some people are maybe disappointed.
I think they need to read it again, because I think it's a really, really interesting Battletome. But yeah, I mean, I first saw that and I was a bit knee-jerk. Oh no, I really like moving units around, but we're reading through the rest of the Battletome, you don't need to worry about moving units around.
As somebody who doesn't play Sylvaneth but faces them quite a lot, I think that's a positive change. You're only moving 1 between woods.
Another new ability they get in their allegiance abilities is Places of Power. So basically, you pick 1 neutral terrain piece, and Sylvaneth units within 6 inches, and there's a lot of distinctions between wholly within and within now. A lot of that's changed. So this one is just within 6 inches. Do not take battle shot tests.
That's very good.
Yeah, so that can be really good. So you just pick up a random piece of. It can't be a piece of terrain that the opponent has placed. So not like your Fire Slave Forge or anything like that.
Just a neutral one on the board before anyone's deployed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So that's all the allegiance abilities. The last change there, I guess, is the Sylvaneth Battletome is quite old now, and it has these war groves that you can like super battalions made up of other battalions. That's a thing of the past now, and you have basically like Storm Host, I think they're called, in the Stormcast and the lodges. So they have glades, they're called, and there's 7 of them, which I'll go through in a second. And these basically just add some unique rules to your army, some command traits, some command abilities, and artifacts. Obviously, if you choose one of these, like the Storm Host, your general has to take the command trait that comes with that glade, and the first artifact you give to a unit in your army has to be the glade artifact.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like those rules. It adds some flavour to the army, but like with the stuff in Forbidden Power, there is a downside, so you've got to weigh up which one that you take.
Yeah, and it is a big consideration in this army, because there's a lot of cool artifacts you can take. And I'll come on to this a bit in a second, because some of the battalions are a bit expensive and a bit, but really you want to take the battalions.
This is what I found with my Celestial Vindicators, because the artifact you have to take for them gives you +2 attacks, but you're -1 to your save. So you kind of like, that's really good, but what do I give it to?
You want that second artifact.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I took my shooty battalion, even though it's quite expensive for what it does. I mean, it is pretty powerful, I suppose. But it gives me that second artifact.
I think we've seen a change recently where the battalions aren't super over the top. Yeah, they're good, and you're paying points for it, but really you're paying the points for that extra command point and that extra artifact.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. Definitely the extra artifact because they're useful here, but definitely the command point as well. One thing that Sylvaneth lacked was command abilities. Mm-hmm. I had like a mountain of command points. You just save them for battle shock or things like that. There's loads of useful command abilities now, so you want those command points. But there's not really any way, well, there's no ways, not that unless I missed something, to generate extra command points. So some armies have abilities where they can generate extra command points. Like the Moonclan Grots have a lot of the Fungoid Shamans, and the King, he can generate command points. There's no way to do that in this, so you are going to be struggling with command points, and you're going to be wanting to spend them. So you need to think of ways to either store them or save them, or maybe take multiple battalions to get a few extra. So before I move on to the Wargrowths, I've just made a note here. I won't talk about the points, but Alariel and Dryker, they're a bit more expensive now. But the Tree Lord, the Spirit of Durfu, and the Spike Revenants have come down in cost. Okay. Everything else has stayed the same.
And the Spike Revenants are your battle line, aren't they?
Spike Revenants are battle line along with Dryad and Tree Revenants. Spike Revenants, I'll come on to them. They look very good in the new book. So the 7 Wargrowths then. So the first one is the Heartwood. The rule that this gives your army is they get +1 bravery while they're wholly within 12 inch of any Heartwood hero. Now, there's a lot of ways to reroll bravery and different things in here, so I'm not sure how effective that one is. The command ability is you pick one enemy unit within 12 inches of a friendly hero, and until the end of the phase, all units reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 against it. Good. Yeah, and this is a bit of a theme in the Battletome I've found. There's lots of ways to reroll hits and wounds. Lots of ways to reroll hits and wounds. The command trait for that one, and this is the one your general has to take if you're a Heartwood Glade, is when the general's slain, you roll a dice, and on a 2 to 5 you do D3 mortal wounds to an enemy unit within 1 inch. On a 6 you do D6 mortal wounds to an enemy unit on 1 inch. So that last laugh type ability.
That's cool.
Yeah. The artifact that you also have to take for your first artifact is you can reroll hit rolls for friendly Kernoff hunters within 12 inches of the bearer.
That's very good.
Yeah, I mean, I put a note here that if you've got a lot of bow-armed Kernoff hunters, that can be quite, because they're hitting on 4s normally. Within 12 inches of here, you're rerolling your hit rolls. That's quite cool. You're hitting 3/4 of the time there. So, I quite like the Heartwood one, but it wasn't my favourite.
See, that kind of harkens back to some of the old kind of Wood Elf abilities, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Imagine those Kernoff hunters with the new guy next to them as well.
The Arch Revenant. Yeah, well, I mean...
You'd be guaranteed to be hitting, almost.
Yeah. The next one is Winterleaf. Now, I think this is one of the stronger ones. It reminded me a lot of the Slanesh battalion. So, basically, your arm ability here is hit rolls of unmodified 6s called 2 hits.
This is my
favorite. So any Winterleaf unit goes 2 hits on 6s. So I quite like that one. The command ability, not so great. In the shooting phase... Oh, no, sorry. I did like this command ability. In the shooting phase, you pick one enemy unit within 12 inches, roll a dice equal to the number of models in the unit, and every 6+ is a mortal wound.
That's really good.
So, yeah.
Those big blobs of goblins that we see nowadays, that 40 skeleton horde. Yeah, thin that out.
Yeah, so I did like that one.
Skaven,
yeah. Moonclan Grots. The command trait for this one is each time the general is wounded on a 5+, you inflict a mortal wound back on the attacker.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, the generals in a Sylvaneth army can have quite a few wounds, so they can take quite a few wounds. And,
is that unmodified or?
Each is wounded on a 5+. No, you roll a dice. Sorry. So once you've been wounded, you roll a dice on a 5+. You inflict a mortal wound back on the attacker.
Okay, that's still pretty good.
I quite liked it because, like I said, your generals can have 12 wounds, so. The artifact here is once per battle, and this is very, very good. Once per battle, you can choose a unit wholly within 18 inches to pile in and fight again. And the wording of this rule, I'll check it with you guys, but to me it read like, I attack with a unit, and then use this command point, and I attack with that unit again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not.
It's the same as the Lords of the Lodge for the Fire Slayers. That's why the Hearthguard Berserkers are so good, because they've got that same wording. They can pile in again a second time.
Yeah, without not waiting for you to go with a unit. It's straight away.
Is it?
Well, I don't know. I'll check with you after. But
they can be chosen to pile in a second time.
No, it doesn't say that. It says they fight again a second time.
Oh no! In that case, they would then.
Yeah, so that's what it read like to me. So, but I mean, even if it's not that, it's still a very cool rule. It's only a once per battle ability, though.
Yeah, Lords of the Lodge is they may be chosen to pile in a second time. The Keeper of Secrets is the same rule where they can just pile in again.
Let me see if I can.
Mike, if I think I will in the future build myself a little Sylvaneth army. Grow my own Sylvaneth army. I think I would pick this grove and I'd glade, sorry, and I would paint them sort of all wintry and
I do like wintry Sylvaneth.
So it says here, once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can pick one friendly Winterleaf unit wholly within 18 inches of the bearer. After that unit has fought in that phase for the first time, if it was within 3 inches of an enemy unit, it can make a piling move and then attack with all the melee weapons it's armed with.
So that's
second immediately after. That's very good.
Yeah.
And you're talking like Alariel and stuff.
That's it. Any Sylvaneth. Yeah, so that's great. So Winterleaf was one of my favourites. I think that's going to be one of the strong ones. Dreadwood. So this is another good one for the Spike Revenants. So basically, the army rule is you re-roll hit rolls of 1 for Spike Revenants. Which is nice. Spike Revenants have got quite a cool stat line: 3 attacks each, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, 1 damage.
Okay.
The command ability is once per turn you can pick a friendly unit wholly within 18 inches and set them up anywhere else on the battlefield.
That's very good.
With the normal restrictions being outside inches. So that's another teleport there. So now you've got your realm roots for 1, and now you can pick another unit for 1 as well. The command trait is you can reroll successful battle shock tests for units within 6 inches of the general. Sorry. That's reroll successful battle shock tests for units within 6 inches of general. That's opponent enemy units.
Oh right, so reroll successful battle shock.
Yeah.
So your demon player rolls a 1, not reroll that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it's cool. It gets even cooler. The Spike Revenants. Where are they? Spike Revenants. Well, in fact, I'll talk about that later. The Bravery Bomb. There's so many ways to lower bravery. Force extra units to flee, models to flee. I'll come back to that. Bear that in mind when we come back to the units in a bit.
You're going to fight with sticks, eh? Extra bravery modifiers.
Imagine if you're doing the doubles with Sylvaneth, with Dreadwood, with a Legions of Grief partner.
Brutal.
Yeah. Everything would be scared.
That'd be cool.
The artifact for that one is -1 to wound rolls from melee attacks that target the bearer. So, okay, there are better artifacts, I think, but you have to take that one. The next one is Ironbark. I didn't really like this one that much.
These are the ones that can ally with Dwarden, aren't they?
Yes, they are, yes. I forgot to mention here, your allies are Stormcast Wanderers and Ideneth, but if you're an Ironbark Glade, you can also ally with Dispossessed and Fireslayers. So these guys, their unique rule is reroll battle shock tests while wholly within 12 inches of a hero. But I found you've got different ways to reroll battle shock anyway. You're immune to battle shock when you're near a terrain
and
piece.
And quite high bravery, aren't they, Sylvaneth?
Yeah, I can't
7
remember.
maybe for Dryads.
Yeah, Durfu gives you +1 bravery, so I'm not so sure about that one. The command ability is at the beginning of the combat phase, you can pick one enemy unit that made a charge. On a 2+, they suffer D3 mortal wounds, where they grow thorns and brambles and things that they charge into.
Okay.
Not so bad. I don't think you'd use a command point on that one myself.
No.
The command trait is you reroll save rolls for attacks made by missile weapons. There's not that many missile weapons in the game, and the missile weapons there are have good rend anyway.
Yeah,
So-
that's true. If you come against Fire Slayers, they've got silly rend. No, not Fire Slayers, Caradrons.
Yeah.
They've got silly rend, and that's really the only shooting armor you can think of. Really.
Celestial.
Celestial, yeah.
So
-2 rend though they are.
exactly. So I mean, what's the point? Rerolling a 6+ save or no save? So I didn't like that one. Their artifact is +1 to wound rolls on melee attacks, but there are other artifacts that give you similar abilities or better abilities. So I mean, there's the gear strike weapon that gives you +1 to wound and +1 to hit. So Harvest Boon, I like this one, and I like this one for a good list built around Durfu. So the ability here is you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for units that made a charge.
Okay.
The command ability is at the start of the combat phase, you pick one unit wholly within 12 inches of any Sylvaneth hero. You add 1 to the attacks of all melee weapons.
That's very good.
There's lots of ways to add attacks to melee weapons in this book. And don't worry about these wholly within 12 inches of any Sylvaneth hero and all that sort of stuff, because there's a solution for that one as well. The command trait is the general can make a 6-inch move after attacking as long as he ends up outside of 3 inches of enemies.
That's very good.
So you go in with your general, Durfu, do a ton of damage, move away 6 inches.
Charge next turn.
That's awesome.
It combos very nicely with a new ability that the Tree Lords, Spirits of Durfu and Tree Lord Ancients have got as well. So I'll come back to that one. Then the artifact is +1 attack to any of the bearer's melee weapons. So you're getting your +1 attack from your command ability, +1 attack from your artifact, +1 attack from the Arch Revenant, +2 attacks for being next to a Wildwood, and Durfu's marching into combat with 9 attacks.
That's mental.
And then running away after his attack.
Crazy. And doesn't he do like 6 damage?
6 swap damage with his sword.
That's mental.
That's crazy.
And then the last one is Oaken Brow. Oh no, sorry, Naru. There's 2 more. Naru was a popular Wargrove in the current Battletome, and I quite like this one. It's changed quite a bit. So now your units can reroll hits of 1 while they're wholly within 12 inches of a wizard, which the Naru is like the magic-y sort of one, so you'll have a few wizards there. The command ability is at the start of the combat phase, you can pick 1 unit wholly within 12 inches of a hero, and it gets a 6+ feel no pain save, ward save against wounds and mortal wounds. The trait is once per hero phase, you can heal a unit for D3 wounds if you successfully cast a spell that isn't unbound within 18 inches.
It's situational, I suppose.
It is, and D3 wounds nowadays is not. I mean, it could be just restore 1 wound. So.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to cast quite a lot of spells though, so there's
It's
quite
just
a
one
few.
though, isn't
You
it?
can only do it once per hero phase,
okay.
so it's only D. I mean, there are a lot of healing abilities in the book, and I wonder whether you could build a list that was based on healing, and that would help. That's an extra D3 wounds on top of all the other D3 wounds you can heal to units. So it might have some legs in it. I think you'd have to build a list around healing though to make the most of that one. The artifact is nice though. The bearer rolls 3d6 when casting a spell, and you can remove the dice of your choice.
Oh, that's very good.
So that's quite strong for getting the spells off. And then the last glade is Oaken Brow, which I wasn't too keen on this one either. The monsters count wounds suffered as 2 less for the purposes of their wound table.
Okay.
And there's a lot of monsters in the Sylvaneth book, I guess. The command ability is at the start of the battle shock phase, no tests for dryads while they're wholly within 16 inches of a hero, Oaken Brow hero.
Okay.
But
you're trying to bring any big enough blobs to weather Battleshock anyway.
And also, do they still get the thing in the Wildwoods where they don't suffer from?
they get buffs in Wildwoods, yeah. But I mean, the scenery piece makes you immune to battle shock anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Your command trait is +1 wound on a general. I'm not sure how useful that is. And the artifact is just a 6+ ward save against wounds and wounds. So I wasn't too keen on Oaken Brow myself.
The winter one sounds good.
I think my favourites are the Winter Leaf. I think that can be super strong. The Dreadwood can also be very good if you build an army around that Bravery debuff. And the Harvest Boon for
Mental death is that?
It's good for charging armies, and you'll see as well. There's lots of ways to add +2, +3, +4, +5 to your charge.
You know what? It's nice to see different kinds of Sylvaneth lists. So even if you built the healing one, like you say, you could do a super defensive one that just tanks a load of damage and heals it up.
Yeah.
Rather than, I suppose, every other Sylvaneth army was dancing around the Wildwoods. Now that's one flavour of Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
But you've got lots of other options as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a few artifacts in the book. I don't know whether we want to go over all the artifacts, but I've got a few good ones.
What are your top picks?
So my top picks then is one called the Reef Stone, and this will tie into one of the initial lists I've written. So basically this one is you subtract 1 from bravery of enemies within 10 inches of the bearer.
There's a lot of bravery.
It's not wholly within, it's just within, so -1 from your bravery there. There was also another one here which plays into the healing build. Is each hero phase on a 3+, you can heal D3 wounds to all units wholly within 10 inches.
That's very good.
That's good.
So, the healing starts adding up, I think, if you wanted to go that way.
Well, your opponent has to kill models, otherwise you're just going to heal them up in that build, aren't you?
Yeah, and there are spells as well that bring models back, which is useful. Bringing a Kernoff Hunter back on full wounds. So, the Acorn of Ages is back. When I initially read through the book, I was a bit worried that you can't get as many Wildwoods down. Then after reading the book again, you'll get as many Wildwoods as you want down. And I used to take the Acorn of Ages in every list. I probably won't bother taking it anymore. The Tree Lord Ancient, he used to be able to summon a Wildwood on a 4+ in the hero phase, so it was a bit 50-50 whether you get it. So you had to use the Acorn to guarantee you'll get the 2 woods down. Now Tree Lord Ancients just have an ability. In the hero phase, they put a Wildwood down once per battle.
Okay, that's cool. But you've got less dancing between because you only move 1 unit through the roots, can't you?
No. You can only use 1 unit through the roots, but there's lots of stuff that can teleport between Wildwoods anyway, so...
so they're still going to be tricksy trying to catch him.
Yeah, and this is it. The initial read was like, oh no. But
a lot of people were concerned that suddenly they're not as mobile as they used to be and you haven't got as many Wildwoods.
I think they're more mobile than they currently are, and I think you'll have more Wildwoods down than you currently do.
I hate Wildwoods.
I hate Wildwoods. Almost as much as I hate Plague Bearers.
I mean, at least they're better models now. I think you can move bases through a lot easier, so I think they won't be as annoying to play against in that regard.
But on a 6, you're doing D3 wounds to your
every
models.
charge phrase, My favourite artefact in the books at the moment is the Vesperal Gem. So once per hero phase, you can basically auto-cast a spell and it cannot be dispelled.
Does that include endless spells?
It good question. No, I think it specifically says a spell from the Deepwood Lore, which is the Sylvaneth Lore. After you've done that, you roll a dice on a 1, the bearer suffers D3 mortal wounds, which is a small price to pay.
trade-off, is it?
No. And there's some good spells. So I really like that gem. It's worth taking the battalion just to get the gem.
It cannot be dispelled as well.
Yeah, it cannot be dispelled. It's just auto-casting cannot be dispelled.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And then one which combos quite well with the Harvest Boon Glade is the Greenwood Gladius, +2 attacks when you charge.
Mental.
And this is how you get Durfu up to at least 9 attacks on the charge.
9 attacks.
That's crazy.
So yeah, they were my favourite artefacts, but there are 4 tables of artefacts for wizards and heroes in your army.
What's that, about 54 damage at least?
Yeah, that's what I got to, 54 damage. Rerolling hits of 1, rerolling wounds of 1, +5 on your charge. You teleport from one Wildwood to the next Wildwood.
That's up there with Vorgroth for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, and Durfu came down.
Mental.
He's also got some other cool rules as well, but I'll come on to that. The command traits that you get, I don't think anyone will ever use these because I think you'll want to take a Glade, and you then have to take that command trait. But there was a good one which you could take if you didn't want to take the the Harvest Boon, which is the chargy one, and it's this one gives you +2 to charge rolls for all Sylvaneth within 12 inches of your general.
Yeah, I mean, I rate plus to charges. My Sylvaneth's built around it, my Khorne's built around it. It makes those 9-inch charges pretty much guaranteed, if not.
Yeah, well, Sylvaneth can reliably get the charge to +5.
That's
easy, +5 for a lot of units. And because they've got a lot of ability to teleport 9 inches away from an enemy unit.
You've got to roll a 4 and 2d6 for your charges then?
Precisely, yeah. So I like that one.
Based on my charging, I could still fail that.
Yeah, you got some Sylvaneth allies. The other good thing about all the... that's the command trait, sorry, so this one doesn't really apply, but the command abilities... you can only affect units next to your general, but the Sylvaneth have a way of extending that bubble to cover multiple parts of the board with their Kerf Hunters, which I'll talk about shortly. They've got their spell list has been rejigged. I quite like their spell list now. So Throne of Vines is back. Rather than adding D3 to your casting and unbinding, it just adds a flat 2 to casting.
Okay,
so you don't get the unbinding, but you get the +2 to casting.
And that was always a go-to first cast spell anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's better than being D3. I think we all preferred flat 2 or 3 instead of...
that'd combo well with your auto cast. Get that off and then make the rest of your casts easier.
Exactly, yeah. So that one's good. There is Regrowth. This is also good. This is changed. So this used to heal you D3, or if you were an extra Wildwood D6, it now just heals you D6. And one good thing about these is the casting values are so low. 5 for Throne of Vines, 5 for Regrowth. So that's a good one. Dwellers Below and Deadly Harvest. These are basically choosing units, rolling dice for every model in a unit. On a 6+, it does a mortal wound. Or all units within 6 inches suffer D3. I didn't really like those.
We see a lot of them now. A lot of them in endless spells as well, and they're very spiky, aren't they? You can either do amazing or do nothing.
Exactly, yeah. Virtuous Harmony. So this is a new spell. This used to be similar to a spell you used to get in the Narut Wargrove. Basically, it's a casting value of 7, and a friendly unit within 18 inches returns 1 slain model, or D3 models if they're dryads.
So
or
if it's
remnants.
Kernoth Hunters or something, though, isn't it?
1 Kernoth Hunter comes back with 5 wounds. That's a very good spell. Tree Song, this has changed. So now, this used to be, I think you could move Wildwoods around.
Yeah.
Now it's a casting value of 7. You pick 1 enemy unit within 16 inches and 6 inches of a Wildwood, and all Sylvaneth units can reroll hits and wounds of 1 against them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Ranged as well.
Yeah, just reroll hits and wounds of 1 against them. So you lock a unit down in a Wildwood, you cast Tree Song on that Wildwood, the chance the wood comes alive and does some mortal wounds, and then all the stuff. So, you can set your charges up around Wildwoods. It's quite cool, that one. The endless spells, I really like. I think they're very good.
Problem is points, isn't it, to fit all this stuff in your army?
The endless spells are very cheap.
Are they? Okay.
Very cheap. The most expensive endless spell is 50 points.
Oh, that is cheap.
That's a bargain.
The rest of them are cheaper. So, the Glade Worm, the cheapest spell. Casting value of 7. It's a predatory spell. It flies, moves 8 inches, pretty standard. Every unit within 1 inch takes D3 mortal wounds on a 3+.
Take it Sylvaneth Architect.
Except Sylvaneth, yeah. And in each Sylvaneth wholly within 6 inches heals D3 on a 3+.
Cool.
So this is another healing ability you can start stacking.
Yeah.
A lot of these new Battletomes are getting a predatory endless spell now that doesn't affect your army, which is cool.
Well, it doesn't affect army with your keywords if you're
With your
playing the same
keyword,
force.
yes, I suppose if you're fighting another Sylvaneth, that's. But yeah.
Yeah, that a lot of people weren't too convinced on predatory spells because it was like, well, you
Cast it and then it comes swinging back into your face, yeah.
The Spite Swarm Hive, fantastic. I love this one. Casting value 7. You can cast it anywhere wholly within 18 inches. Each hero phase you choose between 2 effects. You can either add 3 inches to run and charge.
That's good.
For units wholly within 8 inches, or you can reroll saves of 1 for units wholly within 8 inches. I think you have to roll 2+, so you choose your ability, you roll 2+, and then it affects the
Like a
units
prayer
around it.
kind of thing.
Like a prayer, yeah. So there's your +3 to run and charge. That's your
Yeah,
first
I mean-
+3 to
I
run
mean,
and
think
charge.
about that. Yeah, we're thinking of it from the angle of getting a pretty much guaranteed charge. But the other upside that I use in my Corn Force is that you can do some long ball charges. Obviously, you can only declare a charge if you're within 12 inches or something.
Yeah.
But if you roll high, you can charge something outside that 12-inch bubble as well.
Yep. Yes, of course, yeah. Yeah, just slingshot
Yeah.
around, yeah. So I really like that one. And I think that one combos quite well with the Harvest Boon Glade, where you want to be charging to get your rerolls to hits, your extra attacks, that sort of thing. Take the cogs with that. And what does cogs do? That adds another 3 inches.
Yeah.
Plus 6 inches on your charge.
So then you're on what? +8 charge?
Yeah.
That's,
No, well, no, +3 for that.
Plus the
3 for
cogs.
cogs, yeah. So +6 on your charge.
Plus your clan, that gives you additional charge as well.
I can't remember that one.
I think it was +2, wasn't it?
Harvest Boon. No, it gives you extra. You reroll hits on charge or +2 attacks on the charge for one of that weapons. There might be something in there that gives you some more extra charge rolls. But I think +6 to charge is fantastic.
That's really good.
The last endless spell is the Vengeful Schoolroom, and this one combos really well with your spites and
This is a
drivers.
spooky tree.
This is a spooky tree, so it's the easiest one to cast. It's a predatory spell. It flies. Basically, if a unit fails a battle shock test within 3 inches of it, you add D3 to the models that flee. It also inflicts D3 mortal wounds on nearby units. D6 if those units are near Wildwoods. So,
D6 mortal wounds plus massive battle shock on top of your massively reduced battle shock.
yeah, well, you're -1 from being next to spites. You're -1 because of the Reef Stone. Your D3 extra models are fleeing because of the school route, plus another D3 extra models because of the battalion that you can take.
You've got a good chance of wiping a unit even if they lose a couple of models there.
Yeah, you have. It's very, very cool. So they're the endless spells, and then the battalions, which on my first read through the battalions, I was a bit, because they're quite expensive. The cheapest one is 60, the most expensive is 140. It's a weird mix of
60
units.
is not bad for a command point and an artifact though, is it?
No, and that's the way you have to look at it. It's
I think that's cheaper than any of the Stonecast ones.
Probably, yeah. And the benefits aren't great, but apart from the Outcast one, I really like the Outcast one. But yeah, it's that command point and artifact. That's what you've got to remember. So you've got the Household, which is a Tree Lord, a Branch Witch, and some Tree Revenants. Enemy units can't retreat within 3 inches of them. Forest Folk, a Branch Wraith, 3 units of Dryads. The units can retreat and charge in the same phase. Yeah. Outcast, very cool. 3 units of Spite Revenants. These are very cheap. That's a very cheap battalion. Basically, if an enemy unit fails a battle shock test within 3 inches of any of those units, you add an additional D3 models to that flake. So that.
And you know what? So far, these are units you're going to take anyway.
Yeah, exactly. The Free Spirits one is Durfu and Free Kernoff Hunters. They just run 6 inches, just so you don't need to roll for them. And the Lords of the Clan, 2 to 4 Tree Lord Ancients and 1+ Tree Lord. In the shooting phase, if an enemy unit is within 6 inches of 2 models, they take D3 mortal wounds on a 2+. So there's quite a lot of ways to stack the mortal wounds, I found.
Yeah.
That last one sounds really expensive because on top of the battalion cost, there's some pretty big monsters you need in
Is that the cheaper one?
That's the cheapest battalion, yeah.
Right.
But I suppose if you're in a Tree Lord heavy force anyway.
Yeah, and Tree Lords will come down in points as well. Okay. And Tree Lord Ancients you want to be taking because of their Wildwood ability. So that's all the battalions. So then it's just the War Scroll changes. So I thought I'd just go over quickly what has changed with the War Scrolls. So L'Ariel, she's a bit more expensive now. She's had quite a few changes actually. She used to heal herself D3 wounds each hero phase and then heal all Sylvaneth units within 30 inches D3 wounds as well, including herself. So she would heal 2 D3 mortal wounds a turn. She's lost that self-heal ability. But she has had some buffs, I think. So the bug is better. So it gets +1 to hit now, the Wardroth Beetle's attacks.
He was never very reliable, was he?
It was a 4+ to hit, normally. Now it gets +1 to hit if the unit it's fighting has more than 5 models, 5 or more models.
Oh, it's a good thin out hordes.
Yeah, so it's 3+ to hit.
Well, even hordes, units.
3+ to wound, yeah. Flat 5 damage as well, so that's pretty good. It also does D3 mortal wounds on the charge on a 4+, which makes sense. A big bug thing, beetles, stag beetle.
A lot of big stuff has that kind of mortal wounds on the charge thing now, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Talon she had, she gets 4 attacks with this Talon. It's not a very strong weapon. It used to have an ability that if you did a wound with it, you would roll 2 dice, and on a 12 or something like that, you would instantly slay. Yeah, that's gone now. Basically, now on a wound roll of 6, you do D3 mortal wounds.
That's pretty good.
I think overall it's better because it's more likely to get those D3 mortal wounds off now. The command ability has changed as well. So this now is not just once per game; it can be used any phase now. And basically, units wholly within 14 inches can reroll wounds of 1.
Okay.
I think previously it was reroll wounds, but it was only once per battle.
Yeah, that always seemed strange that it was once per battle.
Yeah,
and it's before command points, I suppose.
It was, yeah, and you had to time it like the right way to use it. She still has the Metamorphosis spell, but that hasn't changed. So that's basically, and it combos well with the Throne of Vine spell. So basically, you roll a number of dice equal to the casting value, casting dice roll. So if you roll 10 to cast, you roll 10 dice. Every 4+ is a mortal wound. So it's quite strong. And if she kills a unit, she puts a Wildwood down. I like that.
Because she's just turned the enemy into a tree.
Exactly, yeah. And her Soul Amorphore, is it?
Summon.
Yeah, so this used to be used to choose whether you wanted to do the heal effect or you could summon a unit once per game and then it goes back to being a heal effect. Now the heal effect is built in. She does that heal effect every turn anyway, and once per game you can summon the unit from the list: Tree Lords, Branch Witches, Dryads, Revenants, things like that. She's a bit more expensive. I found she's a bit harder to fit into the lists I've been writing initially, but I don't know, maybe you can do something with her. Whereas previously I think she was almost an auto pick because she got that free summon. It's just she doesn't fit into the battalions very well, I found now, so it's a bit hard to get her into the army.
Yeah.
Dryke, very interesting changes. So she's gone up a little bit in points. She was always very good at thinning out hordes, I found. She's still quite good at thinning out hordes. So previously you had to choose which weapon you armed her with, the Flutter Flurries or the Squirmlings, and they both had different effects, and then half of the game she got a buff depending on what mood she was in, and it would only affect one weapon or the other, and if you hadn't taken that weapon you could spend potentially the whole game not getting the buff. Now she gets both weapons, so they both get 10 attacks each. One's a missile weapon and one's a melee weapon. Depending on the mood she's in, that goes up to 20 attacks, and you can choose what mood she wants to be in each turn. Also, on a hit roll of a 6 it does a mortal wound. So
20 dice,
looking for 6s, you do more wounds. So on average, you get, because you're making those 30 attacks, you're doing 5 or 7 mortal wounds a turn with the reroll to hits you can get. Reroll the hits of 1, reroll hits from all the other abilities you can trigger.
Well, that's killing a hero in mortal wounds.
Yeah, it's very, very good. She also buffs nearby Spike Revenants, so they can reroll wounds of 1 while they're within 16 inches of her. Her Primal Terror spell, that's right, also plays off the Spites. You roll 2d6 for each unit within 10 inches, and if you beat their bravery, you do d3 mortal wounds. And if you've got to remember, the spikes are knocking -1 off your bravery, the Reef Stone knocking so you're -2 bravery anyway. So I think she's really cool. Her in an army of spikes with an outcast, which is, I'll talk about one of my ideas for a list later on. You can just kill units with mortal wounds from her abilities, attacks, and then the battle
Bravery
shot.
to death, yeah.
No change on the Branch Witch, no change on the Branch Wraith. The Arch Revenant we've seen. I think it's a useful unit. Decent melee profile. I think it's 3 or 4 attacks, 2 damage, Ren -2.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Very good. Buffs nearby Kernoffs, lets them reroll hits of 1. And the command ability is very good. +1 attack on melee weapons.
Yeah,
so
that's very good.
This is how you get Durfu up to 9 attacks. I mean, maybe Durfu's not the best unit to use it on. Maybe a unit of 20 Spike Revenants getting +1 attack from the Arch Revenant, +1 attack for charging from the command ability. They get 5 attacks each.
Yeah, that's pretty
80 attacks on Spike Revenants.
What about fighty Kernoff Hunters? They could do well with that.
Yeah, well, and obviously the Kernoff Hunters benefit from his buff anyway, so yeah, Kernoff Hunters would be a good choice as well. The Tree Lord Ancient, there's some good changes here as well. So we talked about earlier how it can now just place a Wildwood once per game, whereas previously you had to roll a dice and try and bring it on a 4+, so it just does that. It's had a good change to its groundbreaking stomp, and this affects all of the Tree Lord type creatures, including Durfu. So now, previously you'd roll a dice at the beginning of the combat phase on a 4+, that a unit within 3 inches would be -1 to
I
hit.
hate this ability so much.
Yeah, because Jay always rolls 4+ when he uses this ability.
I
I
don't
don't
know
think
if
you've ever not got this off.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you'd prefer that ability to this new ability.
Here we
This
go.
new ability is on a 4+, a unit within 3 inches strikes at the end of the combat phase.
Ooh.
So you can have 2 or 3 Tree Lords in combat, a 50% chance of making a unit strike last. And if your Durfu can then run away 6 inches after he's attacked,
Of course, yeah. Unless you're a Stone-Eshy Chariot that can pile in 6 inches.
unless you have to end outside of 3 inches of a unit, so yeah, they could pile in 6 inches. But I mean, it's very rare units that can do that. Their Impales also changed. So they used to have an ability where they'd get 1 attack after they've all ever attacked. You'd make this 1 attack with this Impale. If you wounded with it, you'd then roll. If you rolled, I think it was either under or over the wounds character. I think it was over the wounds characteristics of the model. You'd slay them outright. That's changed now, and I prefer this one. Basically, now you do D6 mortal wounds, but I think you have to. I think it's on a 6 to wound or something. You just do D6 mortal wounds.
Okay.
So I just think that's more. You can get more damage through with that.
You're more likely to hurt a monster.
Exactly. Yeah.
You would never be able to use Impale on
No, precisely.
Archeon or whatever.
Yeah.
So I like that one. He's still got his command ability, which lets a unit reroll saves of 1, like a Mystic Shield type thing. But I think is it all units within range or something? I can't remember now. So yeah, the Tree Lord Ancient's nice. Cast and unbind 1 spell a turn. I forgot to mention as well. Actually, all the wizards in the Sylvaneth army get an additional spell. I can't remember what it's called now, but it lets them summon Wildwoods.
All right. Okay.
Is it? I forgot to mention that one. Spells. All wizards know Versing Blessing. Yeah, cast value 6. Set up a Wildwood whole within 20 inches.
So plenty of Wildwoods.
So you got your Tree Lord Ancients just putting Wildwoods down. All your wizards know a spell where they can place a Wildwood.
Your free one, your Acorn if you take it.
You're not going to be short of Wildwoods at all. Spirited Durfu, cheaper. He's got the same change, the groundbreaking stomp, so he can make a unit strike last. He's lost his Solemn Guardian rule, which is where he could tank wounds for nearby characters. He's lost that rule. He has a bravery buff now. It's got a bigger range, 12 inches, has +1 to bravery of nearby units. And his sword used to add D3 attacks if he was in range of a Wildwood. It now just adds +2 attacks. So he gets 3 attacks base, 5 attacks if he was near a Wildwood, +2 attacks for charging, +1 attack for the Harvest Boon command ability, +1 attack for the Revenant, 9 attacks on your Durfu.
Mental.
On the charge. Rerolling hits of 1.
Damage
He tree
6.
songed it. Yeah, damage 6 on his sword, red -2. It's very cool.
You could, Archeon, Nagash, force them to fight last, batter them with him,
And then run off.
And then run
And
off, yeah.
Spirits of Durfu aren't unique. You can have multiple Spirits of Durfu in your army. Dryads, these have changed a little bit. So now their abilities are whole within Wildwoods, so you can't string Dryads out anymore, which we saw.
It always seemed a bit silly, didn't it?
Yeah. But one really annoying thing about Dryads for me was that Impenetrable Thicket, which is +1 to their save, only... Is it +1 to save? I think it's +1 to save. Only kicked in if they had 12 or more models. And you summoned them in 10, you bought them in units of 10.
Yeah.
It was a pain. Now, it's on 10 models, you get all their abilities. So you can just summon a unit of 10, and they come fully stacked with all their special rules.
A lot of those original ones were very strange, based around the number of models in a box, or some random arbitrary figure that's been pulled out of the
That's because I think Dryas do come in boxes 12, don't they?
16, I think, come in boxes.
Oh, is it?
16.
They were on the old kind of 4 model sprues that they used to make up the boxes.
So yeah, that was always a massive bugbear for me. Now they fix it. So now I think you can get away with running minimum squads of Dryads myself now, because I think they used to do a lot of damage, 2 attacks each, 4+4+, and you can put extra attacks on. But I think there's better ways of, using the army than relying on big hordes of Dryads.
Yeah, we've seen a few things like that. Like Fire Slayers changed. It was silly taking them less than 30 because you wanted to get all the buffs. Where now they're just as good in 10.
Yeah,
which is a good change. I like hordes, but for certain armies,
yeah. And you can still go the Horde if you want. They go nice in the Winterleaf Warglade where they get in 2 attacks each, and then 6s do 2 damage, 2 hits. But I think a few units of 10 Dryads and get the Branch Wraith, summon and more. Spike Revenants, these are great. So these can now be taken in units of 20. Buy them 5s can be taken in units of 20.
Okay.
Very cheap.
Do they get a discount?
They get a discount at 20, so they're 200 points at 20.
That's good.
These guys are epic. 3 attacks each. Hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, -1 bravery to nearby units, force rerolls of successful battle shock tests. Combo that with the Glade, the Outcast Battalion, Dryker, the Vengeful Spirit Roots. Bravery is going to be a real...
You're thinking these guys rather than Dryads for battle line?
I think so. Yeah, I think these are.
To me, it sounds like a lot of these changes in this book is to give, because I think I could be wrong, but when I see Sylvaneth players, everybody uses Dryads and nobody really uses Spike Revenants. Yeah. I think this book's going to change.
I like the Revenant models as well.
Yeah,
they're very cool.
I mean, they've only got 1 wound each. They've only got 5+ save, I think. But
they look more. I like Wood Elves. They're more Wood Elf to me.
Yeah, I mean, one other implication of all these really small, negative battle shock modifiers and extra models fleeing is people are going to be using their command points to auto pass battle shock tests when they're fighting this. And if they're using their command points to auto pass battle shock tests, they're not using them on command abilities.
Well, yeah.
So it's got a 2 sort of pronged effect there. I quite like it. Tree Revenants. So when we saw the Ilfari's Guardians from Underworlds, they had a unique ability on their Tree Revenant sort of rule, which allowed them to fight in the hero phase on the 3+. And we had the same rule named Martial Memories, and I wondered whether all Tree Revenants would get that ability. They don't. They still have their current ability where they can reroll 1 dice per phase, so a charge roll, a battle shock test, a hit roll, a roll sort of save. They can just reroll 1 dice per phase per unit.
That's pretty handy.
It's really good, yeah. It's good for battle shock tests or charges. You know, if you roll low on one of your charge dice, you can just reroll it. They have been buffed though. Previously, you could teleport them to the edge of a battlefield, 6 inches from an edge, or another wildwood. And they use their way pipes every movement phase to bounce around. Now you can just teleport them anywhere.
That's good.
Anywhere. So there, you've got
jump on objectives.
Exactly, yeah. And they're not the strongest unit. They do quite. If they can actually get their attacks in, they do quite a lot of damage with their weapons. Their attacks are quite good, but they can't take a lot.
Well, those scenarios where you tag an objective and move on, that'd be great. They just keep harassing those points. So forcing the opponent to leave their units back on the objectives while your other stuff gets stuff done.
You've always got to keep that in the back of your mind, that these Tree Revenants. So I think they have a place in most armies just for that putting your opponent on the back foot, making them consider that.
I suppose Star Strike, where the 5th battle round you can get 15 points in total.
Yeah.
Even if you're ahead, there's a big catch up they can do by just teleporting units over there. And is that any number of units can do that?
Yeah, any unit Tree Revenants can do that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So don't worry about units not being able to move around. You're still a very mobile army. I forgot to mention this actually. Yeah, while talking about that, the Tree Lords, they have another ability, Spirit Paths, that let them teleport between wildwoods. So any Tree Lord in their movement phase, if the next to one wildwood, can move to another wildwood. So your Kurnoth Hunters can use the Realm Roots, your Tree Lords can just use the Spirit Paths, your Tree Revenants can just teleport, your Spikes can just get picked up and moved in the Winter Leaf thing. So don't worry about the mobility, lack of mobility, it's still there. Kurnoths, these have had some good changes. So the bows and the scythes haven't changed stat-wise, they're still the same. The swords have got an extra rule, so on a 6 to wound, they do 1 mortal wound.
Okay.
So that's quite good. The swords are quite cool.
Is that in addition, or does that just
In addition, yeah, they do an extra mortal wound in addition. All of the Kurnoth hunters, their trample abilities are better now. So previously it was, I think, if an individual model was within 1 inch or something of an enemy unit on a 4+, they'd do a mortal wound. Now it's more like the Evocator's one, where you roll a dice for every model in your unit, regardless of where they are, and they do a mortal wound on an enemy unit within. So that's quite cool. A small buff there. Also, they've gone back to how they used to be. So I think in the current AOS 2 or the latest General Hammer, they only you can only pick one unit of Kurnoth hunters to extend a command abilities range.
Yeah.
Now all Kurnoth hunters count as being in range of a hero.
Yeah, the wording was quite peculiar, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's a lot more clear now. So all Kurnoth hunters count as being in range of a hero for the purposes of command abilities, and then they project a range, 12-inch bubble.
Basically Synapse for Tyranids.
Exactly, yeah, like Synapse, yeah. So I think that's really smart. Because how many times have you been out of range of a hero to reroll a charge?
Well, how many of these abilities have you got within 12 inches of a hero as well? You can cover your whole board.
Exactly, so that's cool. And these guys, I think, benefit from a lot of rules in the army now as well. So obviously you've got the Arch Revenant, which buffs their hits. You can give them extra attacks. You've got the Harvest Boom, which can give them extra attacks. The Spike Swarm Endless Spell, which can let them get into combat a bit quicker. The Battalion, which gives them the 6-inch run. The Tree Song to buff their hits and wound rolls. The Virtuous Harmony spell, which can bring models back. So if you've got a big unit of 6 of them. The Tree Lord Ancient, making the unit their fighting strike last, so all your Kurnoth hunters get to attack first. I think that's quite good. Tree Lord has come down in points. These are a great unit to take now. So pretty much like the other Tree Lords, he's got his a good shooting attack. He's got his Groundsbreaking Stomp. He's got his Spirit Paths rule, so he can move between wildwoods, and he does quite a lot of damage. So I'd like the Tree Lords.
Good to see Tree Lords in it.
Yeah, well,
army.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more of Tree Lords, especially with the points cut they've had. And then last but not least, Ilfari. Last and probably the least actually, Ilfari and her Guardians. I mean, you've seen the War Scroll for these; have been out for a while now. They've lost their ability to fight in the hero phase. They now have the same ability as other Tree Remnants.
Okay.
But when you tally it all up, you're paying for Ilfari, which is just like a branch witch. She's nothing special really. And then you're paying 100 points for 3 wounds with Tree Remnants.
Yeah, I mean, all these Underworld ones aren't normally the greatest. I suppose it's just a way of using those models in your army, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm not sure you'll see them in many competitive lists. But so that was the book. And when I had a read through it, I thought, right, well, let's make some lists and see. So I've got 2 ideas for some lists that I thought might be quite good. So the first one is the Bravery Bomb. So this would be Dryker. An Arch Revenant with that Reef Stone for the -1 bravery. 3 units of 20 spites, 600 points. The Outcast Battalion and the Vengeful Schoolroom. This comes to just over 1,000 points.
1,000 points?
Yeah, so you've still got about 850 odd points to spend on top of all this. But basically, units near your Arch Revenant and spites are going to be -2 bravery, re-rolling successful battle shock tests. And 2d3 or 1d3 plus 1d6 extra models are fleeing, depending on how close they are to wildwoods and spikewoods. Mental.
That's crazy.
Your Dryker's spell is going to probably do like 10 or so mortal wounds with all the buffs she gets to hit and stuff like that. And then you could either go for the Winterleaf to make your spikes much more effective in combat with extra attacks and then the teleportation, or you could go for the Dreadwood Battalion, which makes you more mobile. So, a few options there. And you've got 800 odd points to spend on more Tree Lords, Alariel.
And like you say, you're really forcing your opponent's hand with command points.
I think so, yeah.
Denying them their awesome abilities in their turn, because you could potentially, gang up on 2 units and they could either sacrifice 1 or just blow command points on both of them.
Yeah.
Because they're running if you get that combo off.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, that's it, yeah. -2 bravery, re-rolling that successful test. And then losing however many models they lose anyway,
Well, you think, like,
plus
an
another 2d3.
Elite unit loses a single model with the bravery modifier as well. There's a good chance they fail that, and then they're losing more models as well.
Another 2d3 models, yeah.
Yeah, that's scary.
So I like that one, and I would like to try that. I need to buy some more spites though. I think I've got 10 spites currently. I might need to buy another 10 spites. And then the other list I was messing about with is Demolition Durfu.
Demolition Durfu.
So this is Durfu with that Greenwood Gladius for the extra 2 attacks on the charge. He can move 6 inches after attacking because he's going to be a Harvest Boon Glade. The Arch Revenant, to give him an extra attack. 2 Tree Lord Ancients for your spells, 2 Tree Lords. These actually, you need these for the Lord of the Clan battalion. 3 units of 10 Dryas just to fill up your battle line. You could even swap them for Spike Revenants and half the cost basically. A Branch Wraith to summon some more Dryads, and then your Spike Swarm and your Cogs to get those +6 charges.
I really like that list.
Yeah,
So
this is an awesome.
5 big tree men.
5 big tree men. Now,
Could you fit a 6th in? I mean, if
You could.
drop them down to Revenants.
You can get rid of the Arch Revenant because he's giving you +1 attack. You're only sacrificing +1 attack there. I got it down so you can get Alariel in there.
Really?
Yeah. So Alariel, 2 Tree Lord Ancients, 2 Tree Lords, and Durfu.
That's mental.
So basically, Durfu can quite easily get 9 attacks on the charge. He's got Ren -2, 6 flat damage. He's re-rolling 1s to hit and wound with his 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound sword, and then he retreats. You got lots of healing potential from the Tree Lord Ancient and the Branch Wraith because you've got those different spells you can use to keep everyone healed up. And if you get Alariel in there, that's another D3 heals on everyone. Good mobility. Pretty much your entire army can keep teleporting around the board every turn. Lots of stomp attacks, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chances to make a unit strike last, or make 5 units strike last in combat phase. You've got your Cogs and your Spike Swarm, so when you're getting ready to charge, you activate your Cogs. Before that, you use your Cogs to get your extra spells on your Tree Lord Ancients. Lots of woods. You've got your wood when you set up. Your 2 Tree Lord Ancients, that's 2 more woods, so you've got 3 wildwoods on the board just. And then you can cast your extra spells. Your Branch Wraith and your 2 Tree Lords can cast more spells to put more war.
And your Branch Wraith can just sit at the back and caddy the cogs, can't she?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's really good. I think that's a very good list.
Yeah,
that's a very.
So they were just 2 ideas I had, and they are so different than the lists I would have written with the previous book. I mean, I haven't even got the Kernel Hunters in there. I mean, there's probably a build focusing on the Kernel Hunters. Yeah. So I'm really happy with it. My first read and listening to it, there's too many changes. I don't like this, but reading through it, I think it's really good. I don't know how strong the book is. I don't know, but I've never been that worried.
Well,
about
you know what? Fleshy Kit Courts and Skaven were a spike in power compared to the rest of the books. I mean, Slanesh are very strong. Fireslayers are very strong, but I don't think they're at the silly level of Fleshy Kit Courts that can charge and pile in twice immediately and you're dead.
Yeah.
I mean, these give them a good shout with these tree men now.
Yeah, well, I think Tree Lords are great, really cool.
Wow. Yeah, there was some really good changes. Not looking forward to fighting Jay Sylvaneth.
I am. I think of all the depravity points I can generate with that.
Yeah, all those wounds. Good grief.
You'd just be like mowing down Slanesh, Keeper of Secrets.
Yeah, all my one model units of chariots aren't worried about your battle shock either.
No. Wow. No, well that's it, yeah. Against
Again,
normal
that's an extreme
armies.
build though, isn't it? Yeah. Awesome. So what are your thoughts then? Good changes?
Yeah, I really like it, and I think it's put a new lease of life into the book. I think it's made it a bit more fun to play against, because I think it can be quite frustrating to play against the Sylvaneth because of the Wildwoods mainly.
Yeah.
Blocking line of sight, which they still do. Blocking movement is the big thing.
Yeah, the new models are better. It limits, like you say, you could essentially fence off your army.
Yeah.
As we saw with the Beast Claws,
Yeah.
you could have easily just pinned me in one side of the board and it wouldn't have made for a very interesting game. And also, you swamped one of the objectives of your Wildwoods. So with Beast Claws, with monsters, I couldn't get it.
Yeah, so you can't do that now. I mean, you can still put Wildwoods around an objective, but you can move through it now. So
well, no, you can't, because you've got to be 6 inches away from objective.
But I could
You
still
can
put
multiple ones,
multiple
I
ones
suppose,
around.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be less frustrating to play against, and I think it's going to be more fun to use because, like I was saying at the beginning, I think there's now lots more synergies between different units and abilities and rules, whereas previously there wasn't that much. It was all focused on the wild.
I think that's the fun thing with Sigmar. It's more like Magic now, building an army that works well with, synergising units.
Yeah.
Both those lists that you've made are very different armies as well.
Yeah,
that play in different styles.
Yeah.
Which is fun, cool. I mean, it's a shame we haven't got the book for a while, but at least I suppose you've got a head start of building these armies ready.
That's it, yeah. The rules are out there now, so you can get games in with the. I mean, you haven't got the endless spells yet or the Awakened Wildwoods, but and it's still. I think we spoke. Did we speak to one at Fest, or we read at Fest where they said the Wildwoods and the Awakened Wildwoods you can use either.
Yeah, I think Ray said, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think it's the same footprint.
Yeah. So there's nothing about the old Citadel Wildwoods in the Battletome that we've seen. Whether they get a name change on their war scroll or a footnote in the army book count as.
The only limitation is that the new Wildwoods, you've got a bit more manoeuvrability in how you can put them where you're set with that footprint of the old ones.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we hope that's pleased a lot of you Sylvaneth players, and maybe even converted a load of people to Sylvaneth.
I'm tempted to do a Tree Lord army here.
If I did a Sylvaneth army, it would have as many Kernoth hunters in the list as I could fit.
Okay.
It would have Durfu, because I love Durfu, but then I'd probably just have enough Dryads maybe
for your battle
line, and then just Kernoth hunters.
Yeah, well, you've got a battalion that the free spirits one that would do that, and there's also not the Harvest Boon one, it was the Heartwood one, I think, which buffed your Kernoths. So
yeah,
you could go Kernoth.
It'd be very Kernoth heavy mind, definitely. Right, we hope you've enjoyed that very in-depth look at the Sylvaneth new Battletome, which is hopefully going to be in our hands very soon. Hopefully,
ish.
We're not sure.
Depends on Brexit.
Depends on Brexit. We are not quite finished with the podcast though, because we do have our top 3 coming up next.